And I agree with you. In fact, if you look at the document which was signed, it's entitled Building Bridges Towards a New Kenyan Nation. And the document presents where we are coming from, where we are going to, and then 9 core issues, which then the 2 principals felt that we needed to deal with. And if you look at each of those issues, item 9 actually is about shared prosperity, and item 8 is on land issues. We have things to do with corruption. We have issues to do with national cohesion and integration. We have lots of concerns as Kenyans, and I agree with Sheila to the effect that this handshake needs to be demystified. Can we be able to break it down? And Mike, I also agree with you that we need to more or less draw up a working framework, so much such that then the work for Ambassador Dr. Martin Kimani and Mr. Paul Mwangi, the 2 people who are charged with the responsibility of ensuring that this thing is brought out of the paper into life, then lots of work for them, and probably is to open it up to the public so that then we also have public engagements, we have public participation processes, so that Kenyans not only get to understand what exactly this handshake is all about, but then that the handshake is also able to present answers and then address the issues that Kenyans have. For example, on corruption. Yesterday, we had the Standard giving us a very interesting story on NYS, and these are cases that have never been dealt with, you know. So Kenyans are asking questions, and people are out there who have the highest responsibility to be able to give answers, but those answers are not forthcoming. And therefore, in my view, yes, it is true that the handshake gives us a better opportunity to be able to respond to some of these things, but is it therefore not possible that we can be able to also open it up to the public? And Mike, the third thing is to talk about political goodwill. To what extent are we willing to be able to implement some of the issues and concerns that are raised in some of these documents? We have seen in the past, you know, 2007, 2008, this country was going down, and we had 2 gentlemen also shaking hands, and it was termed the golden handshake. And then the country really came together, and Kenyans decided to accept, quote unquote, and to move on. But if you look at implementation of the key and core issues that were raised into that document, which was then called the Kenya National Dialogue and Reconciliation document, we had issues to do with land, same concerns that are still, you know, bedeviling Kenyans and Kenya up to now. We had issues to do with youth unemployment and, you know, addressing the short-term, mid-term, and long-term issues, historical injustices, issues to do with employment for young people. And today, young people are still asking for jobs. You know, nothing is really ongoing. And so the question is, yes, we have handshakes, yes, we have documents, yes, we have all these issues, but how can we be able to ensure that there is also political goodwill to ensure that
accompanies that?
Exactly.
Yes, Sheila, you want to add
what I would like to say is now we're going through handshake season. And I think we're now cheapening the problems that we have as a country. It looks like, oh, we have this problem. You know what? So-and-so are coming from opposite ends of the spectrum. They are representing different interests. Therefore, you know what? Let's bring them together. They shake hands. And it looks like all the problems they're having will somehow fade out. And I think that's very, very problematic. It minimizes the problems that are there. It kind of paints over the issues that are...
It puts a blanket over,
yes,
over the issues
things,
that we have without necessarily dealing with them. And I think from experience, what happens is that they still remain. If they've not been solved well, they still remain.
Yes, and again, the other thing that happens is also giving so much power onto individuals that they feel that their opinions represent everyone else.
Absolutely.
So when they go and shake their hands, even the people they're supposed to represent get shocked this handshake is taking place. And that is what happened with Raila shaking hands with Uhuru. It just came out of nowhere. And that handshake has not been well received by many people.
Especially because there's no details of what was
happens,
the handshake. And the fact that it was sort of, you know, clouded with a lot of mystery and darkness.
And then it looks like it's a betrayal of sorts, because if you are representing a people, any decision you make should be with the people at the heart of it. Now, if you make a decision that the people do not understand what it is about, that there are questions around it, and questions that you are not answering, the people you know are left, the imagination is a very wild thing. So people are left imagining all these kind of things.
Sorts of things.
Then when they're still sitting there, you know, taking in this handshake between Uhuru and Raila, then there's another handshake between Raila and Moi. Then there's another, you know, so people are like, what's happening? You know, so in this case, I think before we even move further and say accept and move on and talk of reconciliation or watu wabarikiwe mpaka washangae, we need to demystify this handshake. And before we demystify this handshake, let's not add any more handshakes into the business. Because these handshakes are not helping the Kenyans wherever they are.